This is Patrick Findaro, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Today, I'm really excited to have on Jack Saumby, the founder and president of Mint Condition, as well as Randy Abernathy, the director of master franchise development. We're going to talk all about the commercial cleaning industry, the size of the market, the growth, how Mint Condition's positioned in the commercial cleaning industry, as well as go through how they've adapted to COVID and the pandemic, being on the front lines and the cleaning and sanitation business. So I guess to kick it off, Jack, if you could just tell a little bit about yourself and how you got into the commercial cleaning business. I understand it's been 20 plus years. You've grown nearly 400 locations. Curious to see how you got into this space and help build an empire here.
Well, thanks for having us today. First of all, I actually started in the janitorial cleaning business as a standard commercial cleaning company, hiring hourly employees, and I did that in the Houston, Texas market. And I became partners with a gentleman that had his own business but was struggling with the sales piece. So I came aboard and as a minority partner in Houston. And when the recession hit, we made the decision to leave the Houston market, my family, and we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I replicated what I had learned in the Houston market. And we used hourly employees to clean buildings. We built it up to one of the largest janitorial companies in the Charlotte market. With about 100 employees. We were ranked around 8th in the Charlotte market. That was the good news. The bad news was we were turning over 240% of our employees every year or more.
Wow, okay.
And it just became an operational nightmare. So I wanted to focus on getting into a business that was more focused on sales and marketing and developing people. And that's when I made the decision to switch to the franchise model. And we started initially with the Charlotte market.
That's great. And Randy, how did you enter this space and become associated with the Mint Condition brand?
Well, I have a different path to this industry. I started out, I was an industrial and organizational psychologist by training and worked for a couple of the big consulting firms early in my career. Took a job with one of my clients, was an officer of that company for about 10 years. And when I left there, I was looking for a different opportunity and came across this industry and liked the model, liked what it had to offer, and actually became a master franchise of a different system. I owned and operated that for 11 years, had great success with it. Would have continued to own and operate it were it not for the fact that it was located in California. And the small business politics in California got to the point where it was different than what a Kentucky boy like me wanted to deal with. And so I stepped away.
I had a live stream earlier today and with an attorney, and it's like, you're either mega rich or you're poor and you're living well. But if you're middle class, upper middle class, it's not so nice.
It's just, to me, the living was okay. It was the set of regulations that contradict themselves. It's just inconsistent. And so
frustration though, that's part of it. Yeah. Right. You're getting by, but you're dealing with all this bureaucracy and.
Right. It's, you shouldn't have those kinds of obstacles to help people be employed. And so I sold that business and sold the building and sold my house and loaded up the truck and moved to Tennessee and started doing work as a franchise broker and ran into Jack at a conference and had a good conversation. And we kind of continued to talk off and on about different things that he was doing and things that I was interested in because I liked his model. I knew what kind of success somebody could achieve with this model. And I was intrigued by the fact that he had some territories available. And as a broker, I saw it as a great opportunity. Sure. And it turned into a back and forth that Jack asked me if I'd be interested in doing a little more frontline work and helping other people understand what this opportunity looks like, and helping him screen some of those candidates on the front end. And here we are.
Great. Could you tell me, I mean, I know a little bit about this industry, but not so much. I've probably like used the wrong terminology, commercial cleaning and janitorial services, but what is the right term for this industry with the insiders say, and just talk a little bit about the size, growth, and opportunities in this space.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Jack. This is your biz.
Basically, it's over $100 billion industry. So the industry is enormous. And what we have done is we have found our niche within the industry, and it's really small to medium-sized commercial accounts. But the nice part is it's a very diverse. So we do office buildings, light manufacturing, we'll do churches, financial institutions. We do extremely well in the medical field.
Okay.
So we have a very diverse commercial base that we're going after. But what we stay away from is the really large buildings, the high rise, the really large industrial facilities, et cetera. So we have found our niche and work very hard in that marketplace.
Well, and Patrick, for a lot of the folks that I know follow your podcast and who look to you for advice, the first thing I would say to them is, this is not a cleaning business. Okay. For the people that run this, this is a master franchise opportunity, right? So it's split into two very distinct groups of folks. The master franchise candidates are never going to clean anything. Okay. They are not in the cleaning business. They are in the franchise sales and business development business. And their job is to help other people start, own, run, and operate a janitorial company. Okay. And so that distinction becomes important as you talk about this industry, because big picture, yes, we work within the commercial cleaning sector, right? Our franchisees, ultimately what they do on a day-to-day basis is they clean buildings. But for an individual looking for a franchise investment, those investments exist at two levels: the master candidate and a unit franchisee. And those are very different populations and folks with different sets of goals and priorities.
Well said. And just in terms of like the industry in commercial cleaning, like imagine you have some mom and pops, but do you have, and there are a lot of franchise systems, and Randy, you mentioned you were part of another group. What is there also like a big corporation that's doing commercial cleaning? How is this broken down? Who are the market players?
So as far as the really small mom and pop cleaning companies, they're typically going to go after really small buildings, 1 time a week, 2 time a week type.
Okay.
That's kind of where their bread and butter is going to be. And then on the other side are extremely large national or international companies like American Building Maintenance that clean you go into the downtown areas of any metro, and they're cleaning the 20-story and 30-story office buildings, that sort of thing. That's not who we're going after. So our typical competitor is going to be either janitorial companies that are more large within their local community, but mostly it's going to be our franchise competitors. And that's who we run into on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, you'll see some regional competitors in certain markets. You'll see some unionized competitors that may be specific to that area, and then you'll see the franchise companies like ourselves who compete in that space. But we're looking at cleaning spaces between 3,000 and 50,000 square feet.
Okay, interesting. So someone that wants to be a master franchisee, I imagine they don't need to have professional experience. It's more about sales, management skills.
Yeah,
Well,
do
we
not-
want them to have professional experience.
Sorry,
We just want them to have a different
industry related experience. I should
right.
have
Yeah,
said.
they do not need. Well, I would argue they do, because remember, they're not running a janitorial business. They're doing business development, and they need
Yes.
experience with that, right? We need people that have been, C-level executives, high-level directors, high-level execs with big corporations who have had P&L responsibility, who have run and managed large groups of people, who know how to coach and develop people. So that's the professional experience that we're looking for. And we absolutely want that in our master candidates. It's critical for them to be successful.
Jack, any items on that side?
No, I think he hit the nail on the head, because we are looking for people, especially people that a lot of people think that they need to have strong sales backgrounds. That's really not necessarily the case. But what we're really looking for is someone that really wants to build a team and has the skill sets to be able to do that effectively.
So Randy, you worked at another commercial cleaning franchise. You were a master franchisee at that brand. I haven't seen so many industries that employ the master franchisee model in the United States. Usually I've seen it abroad, or even doing joint ventures abroad and exploring
Right.
unique models. What is it about commercial cleaning, janitorial services, that it's more common to have a master, the franchisor, the master franchisee, and then the franchisee at the bottom?
So much like you see other franchise companies in the US operate, when they sell a master to somebody for a different country, what they're essentially doing is they're licensing their brand and their process and their systems and their materials to someone to run it in a completely different location, where it would be difficult for them to effectively service the individual unit franchisees from a different country. Franchise janitorial work is very similar to that in a lot of ways. We have over 400 unit franchisees right now, in 12 different metro locations. Each of those metro locations have their own little idiosyncrasies, right? Their own challenges, their own special market niches, their own populations of franchisees. And to try to run that collectively as a nationwide effort would really not be feasible and wouldn't be a good service to those unit franchisees. So what we do is we license this opportunity to professionals who can duplicate that model for each of those locations.
Makes sense. Yeah, you explained it in a very clear way. The local market knowledge, where if you're just selling hamburgers, maybe it's not that important, but if you're dealing with business professionals in a certain market, it's good to have that local expertise.
Well, and the local expertise with respect to the franchisees themselves. We see in different markets, different populations of franchisees. We have a lot of first and second generation immigrants. We have a lot of clusters around different types of organizations and things like that. And local knowledge of those groups really gives you the opportunity to build that relationship with them.
I imagine,
and
yeah,
gives
you
you the
couldn't
opportunity.
sell necessarily a franchise or award a franchise to one of those franchisees. You almost need the master franchisee to speak the same language and really understand.
Right.
And to Randy's point is it's interesting in some of the markets where they develop relationships with certain ethnic groups. We actually have one of our master franchises that has tied into the Ethiopian community within his marketplace as an example. And because of that great relationship he has, he's really tied into them, and they've really been able to help him scale his business within that market.
That's interesting. And for the master franchisee, I guess, is it a full-time job? I imagine they would have to quit their day job and go in this and dedicate their time full-time.
Yeah, this is a full-time job, especially the first couple years. As you scale it, as you grow it, and you get it bigger, then the opportunity to kind of step back and Jack describes it as working on, not in the business, becomes much more important, right? You can start to look at expanding to to other areas and other opportunities, and you spend more time really developing your staff and developing your systems and making sure that everything's working well. But those first couple years, this is a very much a hands-on kind of experience.
And on the individual franchisees, are these one-man shows, or they have multiple cleaners? How is the kind of the structure there?
It's kind of curious. You get two different demographics almost in most of our territories. You'll get a lot of folks that come in as a mom and pop kind of husband and wife team or a family team, right? These are groups of folks that are looking to make additional income. They may not be quitting their day job, or a couple of them may be keeping a day job, but they want to have extra revenue to be able to buy a house, send their kids to college, buy a new car, do things that are very important to them. And so they do this as a way to augment their income. The second group are those folks who get into this because they want to grow and expand this into a full-time operating business. And so, in that first group, you'll see a lot of family members working together typically. In that second group, then what you've got is a small organization that's hiring employees and developing crew leaders and servicing a number of businesses every single night.
And what's the organization look like at the master franchisee level?
So at the master franchise level, when they first start, as using the term working in the business, they are doing two main functions. Number one, they're recruiting franchisees into their system. So they're going through the process, the sales process of bringing them into their metro area. And then the second piece is they're going out and securing commercial cleaning accounts that they will award over to their unit franchisee. And then as they build their system, this is very scalable. And this will allow them to start adding staff to support their unit franchisees, and they'll slowly move out of the day-to-day operation and pass that responsibility onto other people that will manage their sales and recruiting of the franchises and the supporting of the commercial accounts.
But this is a business that you can operate a very large territory, generating significant revenue, and have less than 10 employees.
Because you have the trickle down effect. I mean, you could have 100, 150 franchisees potentially in a metropolitan area.
Right. Big metro area, you may have 300.
Wow.
Small metro area, you may have, 100, even, maybe 75, depending upon if they're a little heavier on the full-time side. But your staff function that you would see in a standard janitorial company is no longer a staff, but it is a series of business owners who are managing groups of folks to get this stuff done.
And they have skin in the game. I mean, if it's not working for them, they're not feeding their family. So
it makes all the difference in the world. To your point, the skin in the game makes this a very viable model that allows them to scale, and they're not focusing on, did that building get cleaned? Did this get taken care of? They're focusing on bringing the right unit franchisee into their system, and then going out and getting the cleaning accounts within that certain zip code area that they're going to be located in, so that they can award them over to that unit franchise.
And Jack, what you said earlier in the discussion, I mean, if you have high employee retention or high franchisee retention, it's kind of demotivating, because you could be spending all this time training an employee, or in this case, training a franchisee just for them to leave. But this isn't employees leaving after 3 months or 4 months. I'd imagine the franchisees stick around a while.
Yes, the turnover rate of the franchisees is extremely low. So that, and that's the whole that's how you get to scale this business. You have people that, as you call it, skin in the game, that stay with us for a long period of time. And most of them will start out small. And to Randy's point, they will slowly, as they get more comfortable with the model, they will add on additional cleaning contracts to their business to help them build up their revenue stream over time.
And do you have any like crazy success stories of franchisees that started with like a very small investment and now the individual franchisees managing like a lot of accounts?
Almost definitely. So I think in most of the markets, you'll have those success stories where they're handling, you know, $15, $20, or $25,000 worth of business per month. That's pretty sizable business, and they have cleaning staff that's going out and cleaning the accounts, and they are literally just managing or supervising the team that they have out there. But that's the high end of the unit franchisee that we're looking for.
And I imagine like it's kind of resistant to technology, where if you compare it to the residential space, one, you're dealing with huge informalities of just a cash-based business, and then also apps and tech that you can get someone on demand. But a business owner isn't going to want to have that, right? They're going to want to have a relationship that's ongoing.
Yes.
Well, that's it. They're handing you keys to their facility. Okay. They are giving you after hours access to a facility with literally millions of dollars of assets in it. So first of all, right there, they need a trusted partner. It takes time to learn a facility and to learn how that facility is used and where you really need to focus on their cleaning needs. And because of that, you know, you want a long-term team in there, right? A lot of our franchisees build relationships with their customers. They know them, you know,
I can imagine,
they know by name, they know what their concerns are. And that's kind of key to a piece of the success on this. You know, one other thing I will add to it, you know, you were talking about crazy success stories. One thing I learned when I was doing this is a crazy success story, you got to define it by the franchisee and their perspective.
Sure.
We look at it and, you know, my idea of a great success story in our system, right, is a guy who's, you know, started small and he's got this great big business now and he's doing wonderful. And I had a couple that was an older couple that, and this was back in 2008, right, when we all know what happened with the economy and the housing market. And these folks always got top marks from their clients. And I actually I went out to see what they were doing, because they always, without a doubt, they had the highest marks of anybody in our system. And I'm like, wow, I want to replicate that for more people. And so I went out to watch them, and I was flabbergasted, because to me, they were spending way too much time. And I felt bad. I'm like, no, you can't be spending this much time. You're only getting paid this much. And I won't forget, the lady looked at me and she said, Mr. Randy, you need to shut up. And I'm like, wow, okay. And she said, look, we do this together. We don't have something else we need to do in the evening. We enjoy our time together. We take our time. We stop and take breaks when we want. We have fun working together. And because of this, my husband and I never have to worry about the mortgage on our house. Our kids will always have a place to come home to. You know, and for me, that was kind of one of those mind-blowing experiences, right? It was like, it completely reset my set of expectations to where I spent a lot more time.
And just putting yourself in their shoes, where you're right. I mean, I measure success differently for business, but you know, I had a podcast earlier, someone said it well, like there's something you're passionate about, purpose and profit. And it's kind of like a blend of those three. And some people are going to be doing more motivated because they're super passionate about something, more purpose because they're managing a huge team and they're having such an impact. And some people just want to make a lot of money. Yeah.
And for these folks, what they wanted more than anything is they didn't want to be like their neighbors. They didn't want to lose their house. And because of the opportunity that we were providing them, they never did.
So they had that economic security. They were happy, you know, maintaining a certain client book and they didn't want to keep jumping up because they're over servicing that client, and they can keep that client for life. I'd imagine they still have that client.
Without a doubt. I mean, it was obviously a long time ago. I don't know if they still have them, but they didn't lose them because of the quality of their service.
Yeah, no, that's well said. And for a master franchisee, thanks a lot for breaking this down, because it was a little confusing for me going into this, and I'm sure it is for some of the listeners, just the franchisor, master franchisee, and the franchisee below them. But it's good to hear kind of everyone has their responsibilities. So someone that's jumping in and is evaluating a mint condition master franchise license, what kind of investment range would they be expected to have to contribute?
So it's really going to depend on the size of the market they're going into. What we're generally looking for is 1 million population or more in a metro. There are some smaller that we know will still work within our model, but in the investment range is going to be based on the population. So it's $84 per thousand. So 1 million population would be $84,000 as far as an initial master franchise fee. And then from there, to open their doors and get everything set up to run their day-to-day operation, it's going to be about another $20,000 to $60,000.
Okay.
Up front. And then ongoing, most of the dollars, because it's not a brick and mortar business, most of the dollars they're putting into their business from an operating standpoint is actually going into the marketing and the sales. So recruiting of the franchisees, we have a digital marketing program set up for that. And then in conjunction with that, we have a full-blown telemarketing system to help get in front of potential cleaning contracts. And that's where most of their dollars are going to be spent getting it off the ground.
And so to that end, you could have somebody come in all in 1 million population for between 115 and 165,000 bucks. Whereas if they go to one of our bigger metro territories, they could be spending $750,000. Okay. And obviously the incremental opportunity because of that size is significant. It's one of the things, especially when you start to look at the fact that this is a recurring revenue model, right? We're not chasing new static sales each month and replacing them. We're adding on, we're the original subscription model. And so you're looking for those opportunities to build, and in these big metro areas, there are some significant opportunities to be able to do that. But even in a small territory that's 1 million in size, a lot of times those are great territories because you don't have all of the competitors.
Do you have any master franchisees that kind of want to race ahead and grow inorganically or through acquisition to roll in some of those commercial cleaning contracts?
Not really, because we have such a strong marketing program in place that allows them to scale it. So as far as recruiting their franchisees or getting cleaning accounts, we have the processes and the marketing systems in place.
So it's more cost effective going that path with the support
yeah.
that you guys provide.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you provide from the mint condition side at the franchisor level to get the master franchisee open, start recruiting franchisees, start with getting accounts and make break even as fast as possible?
Yes, what we're doing now is we have a digital marketing pay-per-click campaign that we implement for recruiting the franchisee.
Okay, nice.
Along with the drip marketing program, some retargeting efforts that we have implemented that's been very, very successful. And as a matter of fact, it's been so successful, the Entrepreneur magazine has ranked us in the top 100 fastest growing franchises the last couple of years.
Congrats.
Well, thank you. And then on the commercial account side, the telemarketing piece, and Randy and I have chatted about this a few times, that's kind of the albatross for a couple of these guys. So what we've done is we actually have a telemarketing team here that helps get them launched and moving in the right direction from day one.
That's great.
So I want a master franchise. When they leave training, they're getting in front of unit franchises right away, and also getting in front of commercial cleaning customers also.
Yeah, and Jack's modest about this. We hand a master candidate literally everything they need to be able to get this started. So because you're basically doing two things, right? You're obtaining and retaining quality franchisees, you're obtaining and retaining quality cleaning accounts for those franchisees. And so we give you all the systems to be able to recruit the unit franchisees and to be able to bring in quality unit franchisees, be able to train them effectively, and be able to help them get started effectively and manage their business. And then on the flip side, we have, we're gonna give a master a CRM with all of the businesses that are in his territory that match our SIC.
I mean, this would probably
code
take
profile.
like 6 months of him doing, like, if someone wanted to do this on their own, right?
Right. We're handing it all to them right away, with even with metrics on the CRM and on the auto dialer, so that we can help them troubleshoot with their own telemarketers once they get them in and operating. We hand them a finance system that is set up to take care of all the billing, all the collection, do all of the reporting, literally business in a box. Okay. For an executive with the right skills, we are going to hand them everything they need. They need to get an office, and they need to start hiring people. That's it.
Is there one side of the platform that's harder, like recruiting franchisees versus getting the commercial cleaning contracts?
Ever played with the yo-yo?
Yeah.
Right? It's this constant balance. It's this constant up and down, right? Initially you're worried about getting franchisees, because without franchisees, you can't clean anything, right? And then it's making sure that you're getting cleaning accounts fast enough to fill the obligation that you have to those franchisees. And it's a constant balance, but it's a system set up so that as it grows, there's enough buffer in the system. It's rare for you to be able to find a cleaning contract. Once you're up and running and you've got 15 or 20 franchisees, when you have a cleaning account that you kind of caught unexpectedly, that's maybe not in an area where you've got one of your new franchisees, you go to one of your old franchisees and go, would you like to expand your business? And the odds of them saying no are extremely low. It happens, but so it's in the beginning, that's the balance, right? You're kind of perched between the two. Once you get moving, then it's pretty straightforward.
So to Randy's point there, and he makes a very good point. Once you build up your team and you have bench strength, it's easier to operate on a day-to-day basis. So one of the things we're doing now is when we open up a new territory. So we just opened up a new territory recently, and my operations team will help secure some subcontractors, typically small mom and pop cleaning companies, where we'll get 2 or 3 people in place for the master franchise in that territory. So if they happen to bring in an account before they have a unit franchise available, that they can plug in one
They
of
can service it.
And the nice part of that is, what we're finding is some of those people that come in as a subcontractor like the model so well, they'll become your franchisee.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's a big testament. Someone that's already doing the business in that industry is switching to the franchise model. It's not that common. There's few service-based businesses that actually do that successfully. So you're obviously doing something right.
Well, I think it's the support that we provide, right? We can really help these folks grow their business, and they see that opportunity, and they're willing to trade a little bit of the margin that they may have been making to get that kind of assistance.
probably if someone's also more of an introvert and just doesn't like doing sales and marketing on the franchisee level, they just want to be executing, doing the cleanings. They don't want to deal with new business development. So to the extent that the master franchisee can come in and give them new business, I mean, I'd imagine that being really attractive for a lot
Right.
of business owners.
Well, both from a personality standpoint, they tend to be people that are more operational and
Yeah.
don't want to be doing that type of thing. But also a lot of them, most of them start out on a part-time basis. So they're working during the day. So they really don't have the time, even if they had the skill sets, and again, most of them don't, they don't have the time that is needed to develop sales contracts on a day-to-day basis.
Are there any like hot markets? You mentioned 12 metropolitan areas that you're currently operating in. Are there any ones that you're like, this would be a home run? We really need to get a master franchisee in here?
I got a couple of them. Actually, I have more than a couple of them. Dallas and Houston are our two big target markets right now. We know history has shown this model in those cities does extraordinarily well. The Phoenix, Mesa, Scottsdale area, great market. Tampa, St. Pete, we're talking to a couple of candidates right now, another strong market. Detroit, Minneapolis, Denver. We stay off the West Coast. So we're not touching any of the California cities. We're not interested in going into Oregon or Washington for a variety of.
You learned your lesson out there.
Well, not so much me. It's kind of the industry's learned their lesson, right? This industry doesn't exist in Massachusetts.
Is it just with like the labor contracts between like franchisee, master franchise? What's the main reason behind that?
Regulatory involvement and regulatory uncertainty. You look at California, you look at AB5, right? If you were the guy running an independent trucking company, or you were the guy that was running an Uber to be able to make some money, suddenly California has eliminated your ability to do that. Could they do that to the cleaning industry? They could.
Yeah, I mean, they did that for nail salons overnight.
Right.
Everyone's W-2, not 1099. So
Right.
I'd imagine so.
And all of our franchisees are actual business owners, right? We don't sell to an individual. We sell to corporate entities, and we could work in those states. Right now, though, we've got opportunities in markets that are just much more business friendly.
Nice demographic trends. I mean, most of those markets you mentioned, you have people coming from abroad, but internal migration in the U.S. it's really shifting a lot to a lot of those states.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, no, there's some very big opportunities right now, and we're excited about it. I think we just, we're hitting this at the right time, and I think we've got the systems and the support to really make it go well for people.
And in terms of like the pandemic and COVID, I imagine like you haven't been as important as now, unlike President CEO's mind, especially March, April 2020, where they needed someone like you to trust and like handle the cleaning and janitorial services as they reopened up their offices. I'd be curious just to hear from you two, maybe start with Jack on how this pandemic has affected your business, whether for the positive or negative.
Well, the first thing is back in last year in March, when we were informed that people weren't going to be going back into their offices, it was like, oh no. The good news was we were classified as an essential business, so that helped a lot. But what was really important is we did have several of our customers that suspended service, and they had their employees working from home. But then we implemented a disinfecting program, the touch point cleaning that the CDC guidelines set up. So we used EPA approved products, offered that to customers, into the banking community and those that had people coming in and out. That was really, really important. And then we also implemented the electrostatic cleaning. So if someone did have COVID or was concerned with COVID, we would come in and we completely disinfect an entire facility so that it was, if someone had a COVID case, they would be out of there for 24 hours. And then we would literally come in, do the electrostatic spraying, and they could walk in the door the next day and conduct business. So
I mean, was the medical vertical ever that big? Because I know in the beginning of the conversation, that was the one that I could hear the tone in your voice change a bit when you mentioned medical. Was it something kind of a lower in the client totem pole, and then it just shot up in terms of billing?
Well, no, the disinfecting program shot up so large that the people that suspended it not only offset the people that were suspended, but we actually had growth in our revenue in 2020.
Wow.
But what was interesting, and a lot of people get really concerned, like, oh, are people going back into the office? And in the markets that we go after, all of our clients, except for very, very few, are back in their office buildings. Now, are the high-rise buildings
in Florida, I mean, from what I hear, it's like 80-90% back, and Manhattan not so long ago was still like 20-30%. It's just it's a tale of two cities here across the country.
Well, the other thing that I find interesting is even here in our market, because we run a master franchise here in the Charlotte, North Carolina market, our customer base, which was over 400 and some customers, all except for 2 came back. And because it's the high-rise market downtown that we found that people were not going
slammed
back to the high-rise. And then the other thing people need to realize that office buildings is only a certain percentage of our customer base. That's the nice thing about our model. It's so diverse that whether it's COVID or a recession or something that hits, and it hits a certain industry, we can pivot very easily and focus on the customer base that's still there and continue to grow our model. We actually grew again during the quote unquote Great Recession. We grew during that period of time also.
And I think that's one of the beauties of this industry. You know, we talk about it's 52 years old, right? Jana King did the first one 52 years ago. And this thing has survived recessions. It has survived pandemics. It has survived Republicans and Democrats and independents and you know, crazy kinds of things happening in the outside world. But this industry, it's one of those basic essential industries, right? If you own a business where people show up to work, somebody's got to empty your trash and clean your bathroom. Okay. Somebody's got to make sure that that place is clean and presentable, not just for your customers, but for your employees and for their health. And so that kind of business just adapts. You know, during the recession, what did it do? You know, we saw vacancies in office buildings creep up, and all of a sudden you had this bigger problem. And what did you see? You saw businesses that were normally not businesses that we would pursue because they had too many employees and a full-time janitor. Well, now they had laid people off, and sadly their janitor was one of them, right? So now they needed somebody to come in and do the cleaning. And so we went in and did the cleaning on a part-time basis instead of a full-time basis. And oh, by the way, we sold a franchise to their janitor. Right? I mean, that's the kind of adaptability in this that exists. And it's just, you know, I've heard people say it's not a sexy business. And I'm like, I don't know. I think it's pretty sexy. It's consistent.
Well, I mean, it's like, it comes down. I love surfing and I love these sports, but that's separate. I'm not, if I did that for my business, I think I'd hate those things. So it's kind of dividing purpose and all these different things out. And if you can have that big of an impact on someone's life and, you know, help save someone's job and actually have them then make more money, I'd be super happy at night with that, sleeping, falling asleep at night. And, you know, in terms of just data, the master franchisee, they're tracking 2 things, I imagine. Prospective franchisee conversations that they're recruiting in a set metropolitan area, as well as conversations with the commercial cleaning contracts. thinking about the master franchisee, what is the most important data that they need to be tracking daily, weekly, for their business to grow?
Well, on the unit franchise side, we have metrics for once that candidate comes into the digital marketing program, how many candidates are coming in, how many are moving to a first phone call, how many are moving to an FDD interview, and then finally to a recruiting and being part of your system. And we help the master franchise evaluate that. So if we see that, you know, the candidates coming in to a first phone call isn't quite hitting our metrics, we'll have somebody that's on our management team working with the master franchise to tweak that. And if need be, we'll actually go out to their location and work with them directly to help them with the interview process to make sure they're bringing their candidates through that process effectively. And then on the customer side, and it was fun. I was talking to a marketing company the other day and told them what our closing ratio was on telemarketing calls, and they were just absolutely flabbergasted. But we have such a strong process in place that I don't need a super salesperson. I just need someone that has a high level of credibility and that can present our model. And then once we get out in front of a customer, we know what the metrics should be from the proposal to the close and the average size sale. And that's what we want. That's what we'll be working with the master franchise on, the KPI on that side also.
That's great.
But if you ask a master what their key KPI is, monthly billing.
Yes.
What's my current monthly billing? What's my monthly billing? What's my attrition? Okay. Because that's all driven off of your franchisee flow, right? Without new unit franchisees, without the ability to expand, none of the rest of that grows. So when you kind of look and you boil it all down and you go, if I'm only going to pay attention to one thing, what am I going to pay attention to? My monthly billing, and then I'm going to pay attention to my attrition. So how much have I got, and am I retaining it? And if I manage those two things well, my system's going to grow.
And I imagine like the industry, the attrition rate's pretty low on those contracts, the client contracts. And then I imagine on mint condition, it's even better than the industry standards.
It seems to be something that's very regionally dependent.
Okay.
We do a great job. Our guys do a great job in terms of being able to retain that. And I think you've seen over time some systems do some different things that have probably impacted that in different ways. We're trying to learn from those things and not do them. And you know, that's kind of one of the benefits that we've got in this is, you know, we're kind of in the third stage of the development of this industry, and so we get the advantage of looking at all of the things that some of those big guys did that worked well, and incorporate them, and the things that didn't work well, we can avoid them before we have to experience them ourselves.
And Patrick, to Randy's point is that retention, the retention of both the franchise and the customer, they go hand in hand. So our model is very dependent on building relationships. If you have a really strong relationship with your franchisee and you have a strong relationship as the master franchise with the customer, and then the unit franchise has a great relationship with their customer, you're going to keep them a long time. And that's why one of our master franchises is really big on emphasizing the fact that this is a relationship building business.
Yeah, what I like about the model too, it's kind of divide and conquer. Everyone's doing what's to your strong suit. And Jack, you had mentioned earlier, you know, sales, marketing, leadership, but not necessarily managing a 100-person team. But there are folks that are good at that, or folks that are really just better on the work side and more on the unit level. So it seems like kind of everyone has a piece in the greater mint condition organization.
Good way to put it.
Well, and this is, you know, to that end, this can be a really great family business at a master level, right? We're starting to see candidates come in, you know, business execs that are in the latter stages of their career that are looking for a business that they can turn over to kids that are coming out of college or, young adult professionals. And, there are opportunities in the organization for them to work and learn the business very effectively, and then to be able to help scale and grow it. And so, it's a great opportunity for an individual that wants to be able to do something like this, but it's also a great opportunity for a family that wants to be able to do something like this.
Any concluding thoughts for our listeners?
The one thing I want will almost re-emphasize what Randy said is that someone coming into our model understand that they are not getting into the janitorial business. That is really critically important. I had a gentleman that I spoke with one time, and he kept referring to the janitorial industry. And I said, if you are talking to me because you want to be in the janitorial industry, I'm talking to the wrong person. I want someone that's in sales,
Yes.
marketing, and business development. And I think that's a really critical piece that actually Randy's done a great job of making sure that the candidate understands exactly what they're walking into, and the type of scalability and opportunity that'll present to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been funny for me because I've now worked on this in both sides, and it's not an industry that immediately comes to mind for the candidates who are the best candidates. I had a great deal of fun after I left my corporate job and bought mine. I had friends that would call me and go, "Hey, what are you up to now?" "I'm a janitor." Dead silence on the other end of the line, right? And I would kind of laugh and say, "No, here's what I'm doing now." It's not something that
My brother
the
used to do the
candidate.
same thing. He worked at Burger King, and he graduated from Georgetown University. And family members, big event. "Oh, what are you doing after Georgetown?" I'm going to work at Burger King. And then some people will be, "Oh, that's awesome," like at the corporate headquarters. And other people, "Oh, okay."
Right. Yeah, it's like that awkward moment that you don't want to go, you're going to stay
It's fun
positive, but
though.
it's
You got to
like,
have some
yeah,
fun with it, right?
right. And it's that kind of industry. I mean, there are few franchise opportunities out there, I think, that have the investment to potential revenue option that this industry does. And add on to that the fact that you can make a significant difference in the lives of a lot of your franchisees. It's cool to have a franchisee come in and tell you that they just bought the first house that anybody in their family in 4 generations has owned. Okay, that's a cool feeling.
Yeah, that would make my week.
Right? Yeah, and they come in and they invite you to their citizenship ceremony. Those are cool things, and that's the kind of stuff it's the kind of impact that you can make if you do this right. And so I think Jack is one of the guys in this industry that really wants to make sure that the experience that the unit franchisee has is as positive as the masters, and that's why I'm here with him.
Well said. So, I mean, I learned a lot today. I hope the listeners did too. I'm going to put the website for Mint Condition on the talking notes in the description of the YouTube video, or if you're listening to this over a podcast, as well as a profile on the Vetted Biz site. And we're still trying to tweak because there's, maybe 15 master franchisees, and Randy brought to my attention, we need to figure out a better way to kind of depict those profiles. So that will be a working profile for Mint Condition. I really enjoyed this conversation today. I learned a lot about the profile that you're looking to get after for a master franchisee and who's going to excel in that, and on the unit level too, and just having that all flow up. And if everyone's doing well, it seems like the unit level economics drive the master franchisee and up to corporate, and seems like everyone wins together.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks again.